What is up, YouTube gamers? Bonfire here, bringing you another Inside Commentary. And today I'm bringing you some Battlefield 3 gameplay, some highlights from a team deathmatch on the map Noshar Canals, and I'm using the UMP-45. And pretty good gameplay. I have some really good kill streaks, and keep your eye out for one of the kill feeds in the game where I throw a random nade because I get some great results. So overall, I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay, and today we had a very big day in gaming, well, yesterday, and that is E3 announcements from Microsoft, Nintendo, and I wanted to talk about the Xbox One versus the PlayStation 4 on used games and online connectivity, DRM. And some information leaked out on Friday, June 7th, before E3, regarding some of the details on how the Xbox One will work with used games and being always online. So they said that the Xbox One is designed to run in a low-powered connected state, and you no longer have to wait for updates as they'll download in the background. So I compare this to like your cell phone when you turn your phone quote-unquote off to where it's in a low power sleep mode. So the Xbox One seems to do the same thing. That way you can walk up to it and say Xbox on, and boom, everything's at your fingertips, everything's that instantaneous that they're striving for with the Xbox One. They did say that a persistent connection is not required, but the Xbox One is designed to verify if updates are needed, as well as check to see if you have new games, traded in games, or gave away one of your games. So it does seem like that an internet connection is going to be required with the Xbox One. Now, big news is the Xbox One must check in online every 24 hours. So what this means is that you can game by yourself offline for 24 hours, but after that you will not be able to unless you reestablish that connection. You can still watch TV, watch movies, watch Blu-rays, but you've got a 24-hour window before you have to reestablish an internet connection to play by yourself offline. And I think this is where a lot of that controversy is coming in, because Microsoft's telling you what you can and cannot do with your console. And I think this doesn't affect a lot of gamers. I think it's more or less a principle issue. Now, regarding used games, Microsoft is leaving it up to the publisher, but there are some limitations around that. They did say that with Microsoft Studios games, you can give your game to a friend or trade it in to a participating retailer, and there's no platform fee to do so for retailers, publishers, and consumers. So this is good for those people who do want to trade in games and are a part of that market. Now, some more information is that anyone, friends or family, can play your games on your console when you're logged in or not. And it seems that parental controls are going to play a big part of this, because the publishers can enable you to give your disc-based games to friends, and there's no fees for those transfers, but there are two requirements when you're giving a game to someone else. And those two requirements are that you give the game to someone who's been in your friends list for 30 days, and that each game can only be given once. Again, a controversial statement that I think is more of a principle issue than it is applicable to people. Now, back to the parental controls, you can allow up to 10 family members to have access to your games, and they can play from a shared games library. So this means that if a game is in your shared library, that family member that you've given access to can play that game even if they're at someone's house. So parental controls are going to play a big part, and I'm sure there's going to be some workarounds for the people who are trying to figure out with used games. Now, Sony came out today swinging for the fences and took some hits on Microsoft. And the biggest, from what Sony says regarding online and used games, is that the PS4 is not always connected and you can play used games. Sony made it a point to say that when you buy a game, that game is yours to do whatever you want with it. And they got some big applause and a nice positive reaction with those statements. And they also said that there's no online authentication for disc-based games. And another thing to point out is that you can play games offline. You're not required to have that internet connection. So the opposite of what Microsoft is doing, it seems the consoles are going in two different directions. And this makes me ask the question, what is the future for used games given these two scenarios that have been set forth? And regarding Microsoft, I think they're making an attempt to do two things. First is to recoup some of the money that developers and publishers lose when a used game is sold, because remember, they only get money when that game is bought for the first time new. And secondly, and probably more importantly, I think this is a push for digital distribution. Because digital distribution is the future of gaming. That's where we're going to. PC gaming's been there. They're doing it right now. And when you buy a game for the PC, there's not used games for the PC. You're buying it brand new, especially with distribution services like Steam and Origin, which are very popular. Nice thing about digital distribution is that it's more affordable for developers and publishers because they don't have to create discs or the cases, which are going to up the cost. And hopefully what this means is that it's going to push the cost down for consumers as well. So maybe once we kind of reach that digital distribution age, that games will be a lot cheaper for us to buy, especially those AAA titles. Now, in the long run, when digital distribution is more prominent, a few years down the road, I think Microsoft will come out on top. I see this push for digital distribution and used games, online DRM. I see this as a similar scenario for when Microsoft first introduced Xbox Live, because we weren't there yet with Xbox Live, and they wanted to be ahead of the curve. So they did that and were successful with it, because look where it is now. Now, regarding Sony, I think this will help them now, given their stance on used games and always online connectivity. And we can tell that instantaneously from the response from the crowd. Everyone was clapping, everyone was getting excited, everyone's happy. You could arguably say that Sony has won E3 this year, and it's only day one. Now, I think over time, once digital distribution becomes more prominent, I think that Sony will be able to make their way into digital distribution, because remember, they have that cloud gaming partnership with Gamecite, and I think that's going to enable them to create a seamless way to digitally distribute games, similar to what PC gamers use with Steam. So, given that, I think they'll still be slightly behind the curve in the long run. But I think if they play their cards right, they'll be able to make it through the transition to the digital age just fine. But I think it's going to come down to, can they create a seamless way to digitally distribute games and be competitive with Microsoft. So that's kind of where we're at with some of the big news that dropped from E3 today, both from Microsoft and Sony. My question to you guys is, how do you feel about this? Do you guys like what Xbox is doing, or do you feel that Sony is doing the right thing, and which one do you guys think will come out on top? Hit me up in the comments section below, and if you guys enjoyed the video, enjoyed the gameplay, please give it a thumbs up, and feel free to share it with your friends. As always, don't forget to subscribe for more reviews and gameplays, and until next time guys, I'm Bonfire, and I'll see you online. Hey guys, don't forget Facebook and Twitter. Hit that button down below.